Hi, I'm your host Kelly Bowen, and you are listening to the Lifestyle Finance Australia show, which is dedicated to creating greater awareness about the power of leveraging finance when it comes to accelerating your growth and personal development. And we celebrate the hundreds of coaches, thought leaders, and game changers we support. This is a platform where you can meet some of the world's best experts in online business, trauma healing, digital marketing, relationship coaching, abundance and wealth creation, spiritual ascension, body healing, and wellness. So if you're looking for your next coach, healer, or mentor to take you on the next step in your journey, this is the show for you. Let's play. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle Finance Show. I'm Kelly Bowen, and today I have an absolute legend with me, Drew Slater from Money Up, Time Down. We've been working together for a little while, doing some cool stuff when it comes to business systems, structures, and funneling leads into your business. This is the go-to guy. So I'm super excited to have you with us today, Drew, and just talk a little bit more about what you do, when's the right time to add this into your business and the kind of structures that you need to be there in place. So welcome to the show.
I love it. Thanks for having me on, Kelly. And that actually just reminded me how we got started, because we did some work together years and years ago, and then whatever happened, we kind of went like that. And then since a year ago, we've kind of been doing a lot more work together, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think it was all the open pays and the buy now, pay laters that came into the marketplace that were really awesome from the perspective that they'd pretty much approve anyone within the space of half an hour, but they've recently withdrawn themselves from the marketplace because they were approving people within half an hour and not doing credit checks and putting them into financial scarcity, which is something we don't do, which I'm really grateful that we've been able to come back and reconnect in this way and really serve our people and help them create solutions that fit their budget, not create solutions their budget have to stretch to.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. So tell me you. So let's talk about Money Up, Time Down and what exactly it is that you do for our listeners. If I've never met you before, what is it that you do?
Yeah, it's funny. So my wife, Marley, and I run Money Up, Time Down together. And, we always get this question wherever we go, what is it you guys actually do? And even some of our extended family or close friends are like, I still don't really get what you guys actually do. So in a nutshell, we offer really two things. We serve business owners. Most of our ideal clients are running a service-based business of some kind. So I think coaches, consultants, digital marketing agency owners. And really what we do for those clients is we either do it for them or we do it with them. And so if we're going to grow their business for them, we're doing very intimate digital marketing services, integrating sales systems into their business and basically consulting to them one-on-one. It's for a select few clients, we'll really get in the trenches and do that with them.
Yeah, awesome.
Or for them basically. And then our other service is really just traditional business coaching. So we give our systems to clients and then we hold them accountable to installing them in their business.
Yeah, amazing. And I've seen and with those systems, is it just the Facebook ad component that you do, or you do the full scope of the business systems from scaling them with team to how to choose the team?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I would say Facebook advertising is actually a really small part of what we do in terms of the coaching consulting. We do finance, tracking, operations, goal setting. We will do sales systems, so helping them build out all their scripts and decks and whatever, marketing funnels, traffic, so YouTube ads, TikTok ads, other channels. We'll help them with things like content marketing strategy, team. So yeah, it's more than just ads, basically.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that you put in here helping them with the finance tracking operations. And I know most coaches that I deal with, they hear that and they're like, ugh. It's like their body's almost allergic to it, which is they kind of get into coaching because, or service-based businesses because they want to make a difference, they want to serve. But when it comes to the actual operations part of business, it's a completely different part of the brain. And I find they kind of struggle with it a little bit. So is there something, and there's a cap that people get to when they're just doing, the Solo-Preneur thing and they haven't really put this operation things in there. So if one of our listeners were listening with I just don't want that to be part of my business, knowing that it really is the next step, what would you say to them?
Easy. So my wife, Marley, is kind of the systems kind of business brain of our business. And so what we do is we help our clients just before they get really nitty gritty on things like finances and making sure their structures are right and tracking, profit and loss and all those things which people shy away from. We just kind of start by creating this thing called a pulse number. Other people might call it like a critical number or a vital metric. It's just like this one number that they track that if it's all moving in the right direction, then we're winning, right? So for us, let's just say we're doing your business, right? For lifestyle finance, there's a metric that if we track it and you and I just spoke, for 5 minutes a month, if we could only ask one question, we would know that if that metric has improved, typically we're hoping things have gone better. So for you, it might be like either new clients or active clients that you're working with. And all we need to do is basically figure out what is that number, pulse number. So let's say for you, it's total active clients. Then we figure out where do you want to be in 12 months. We define the gap, and then we waterfall that into 90-day targets and then break it down into 30 days.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds so much more palatable than all the things that come with finance, tracking, operations.
Yeah.
And to bring it back down into like what is, we're looking at the overall key metric of the business, what is the one thing that underpins growth? Yeah.
And once they get comfortable tracking that sort of stuff, they fall in love with tracking a little bit more. And then it's pretty easy sell to go, hey, let's start tracking some more stuff. Let's install finances and operations and the rest of it.
How do you identify what that one pulse check is?
Yeah, so we actually sit a client down face to face and decide together, because we don't want to tell them what it is, because then there's no buy-in. So we get buy-in, decide, okay, if we're just going to track one, what will it be? And to be honest, most people probably pick the wrong metric to start off with. And then we sort of coach them through, well, most people just say they want to track revenue, right? But revenue is like a downline metric of your pulse number growing theoretically. So yeah, it's hard.
Have you noticed there's a common theme between businesses about what that pulse is? Or is it different every business?
I would say for our market, it's all relatively similar. It's going to be something like either total active clients, or it might be new clients if it's in a service capacity. If it's like an e-commerce business, it would probably be number of orders. But I would say the trend that we see all the time is that everyone sets ridiculous targets. Everyone comes on, they're I'm here, I want to be here.
Yeah.
And actually take them through the exercise to break it down. They see, okay, what they would need to add in the next 30 days to even be on track for that. They're like, oh, okay, I'm going to cool the jets a bit.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too how that gets sold within the coaching and personal development space about how quickly you can grow a business.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is you can grow a business really quickly if you've got some business runs on the board and you can take a system from over here and plug it over here. Or if you're switching from a corporate environment where you have been sort of doing business operation things or marketing things and being able to transfer it across.
Yeah.
But if you're starting out from the beginning and you're somebody who has a gift and a skill but no business acumen, that journey growing that quickly, it's a little bit like winning the lotto. It sounds great in theory.
Exactly, but in reality, it's crazy to grow too quick, and we've all done it. It's easy once you know how to grow to keep growing, but just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily need to. And we've spoken about this with what you're doing. You've been doing this for a long time, and now you're in a big acquisition phase. You're running ads, you're doing all this cool stuff. But that's based on how to grow your business. You have a team in place, you've got structures, you've got, managers and client managers and stuff like that. You've got client onboarding people now. You're actually set up to scale.
Yeah, and it took years to get that as well. Years to know what works, years to know what doesn't work, and it's a process. And in that phase too, like I see, and I'm curious if you see this as well, when people try and go too quick, they grow at the cost of their existing database or their existing clients, and so they suffer, which ultimately it's like having an Achilles heel in your business.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. So one of the things that we look at a lot, and we obsessively track this number in our own business, because I think it's a bit of a leading indicator of the true health, is internal referral rate.
Mm,
And so even for us, like I personally feel like we're growing a bit too quickly if we haven't had referrals for a while.
mm,
Like it's a weird metric, but I don't think a lot of people care too much about it. But for our clients, like a lot of them will say, we do like a ranking exercise and we get them to rank certain areas of their company. And most people will rank their product 5 out of 5.
yeah.
Everyone thinks they have the best product or the best service.
And so they should.
Yeah, for sure. And that's cool. But like the ones that actually do, you typically see when we look at their referral, it's like they're getting heaps of referrals. So that for me is something that we track to know, are we growing too quick, or, you know, are clients actually stoked? Because it's, you don't get referrals if you're, you know, but if you're doing a great job, you get referrals. Effectively.
100%. Yeah. Well, and I haven't, like, as you mentioned before, like the phase that I'm in with the acquisition phase, and I've only in the whole since 24 9 years that I've had this business in its various different forms, but
Yeah.
particularly since 2018, where we've really focused on finance purely for coaches, I haven't run a single ad. It's all been purely referral based.
Exactly.
And I used to have this belief that I don't need to do ads because my product's so awesome. I have a waiting list.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
literally did have and I did at one point have a waiting list until and then now that I've grown beyond that space to be able to take on that level of capacity, I was kind of like, I'm curious to see what happens. What if I release this to the open market, knowing full well I had the systems in place to handle that?
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting watching that growth. But otherwise, and I could still keep it as it was, like if I still wanted to just like keep the casual journey, not really a stress on my system, not really a stress on the business, keep doing that. But I was just curious to see how quickly it responded, and I was really quite surprised, to be honest.
Yeah. It's hilarious. And we were just looking at your numbers before. They're pretty amazing. So um, it shows you there's a time to start scaling up. And if the product's not good, like it's not ideal.
Yeah. What would you say if somebody was at that place about to scale? Because we sort of looked at like going from the sort of the solopreneur to getting that next stage of business. But if you've already got that and you want to scale like beyond like next level sort of team, next level sort of figures, what would you say are the three things that need to be in place for that to be done?
So if you're going to use like paid ads, basically, which is, you know, really sexy, and we market that kind of message a lot because we know that it works for us.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely like you're going to want to have some sort of understanding of your numbers. So what, like unit economics. So like, what are you able to spend to acquire a client,
Mm-hmm.
and like what's the most you can do? So really good handle on your growth numbers.
Yep.
Two, you're definitely going to want to have some form of sales tracking system in place. So whether that's a CRM tool or something to kind of keep a track of all your leads, because even like when we were looking before, like you've got a whole bunch of new people in your world, you've got to kind of manage what stage they're at.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely sales skills, because what a lot of people do when they go from organic growth to like paid growth is they go from selling really warm leads, referral leads, or like people that know who they are,
Mm.
they're having to sell complete strangers. And that is a different game. Like selling cold traffic is totally different to selling someone that, you know, if you're like, hey Drew, here's my friend, they want help, you know, like you've laid it up. Whereas
Yeah.
if they've never met you, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And in terms of the sales skills, this is something you help your people with, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What would you say are the key components that need to be there with cold traffic to build that level of trust to get them from a I'm curious to committed?
Yeah, I really have changed my thought on this. Like I used to say, like, I hate scripts, you know, I hate decks. But the more we've been helping clients with it, I would say that you really want to have, if possible, like a nice pitch deck in place or some sort of really nice document so you can feel confident you're not doing all this mental gymnastics on a call.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to decide, or whoever's listening wants to decide, if they're going to do a two-step or a one-step sales process.
Mm-hmm.
I personally prefer a two-step sales process just based on the data that we see.
Mm-hmm.
I think it protects your close rate, and it allows you to build a few less, you know, bottlenecks in the process.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is case studies. I reckon case studies are the thing that really jack up someone's level of trust about your ability to get this person a result. So if you can somehow get case studies, or, you know, content testimonials like client interviews or whatever they look like, that's going to help you massively.
Yeah. And it is the power of a case study. It's so overlooked.
Yeah.
And what I love about case studies is that if you're sitting in a problem and when you see somebody else that's been in that same problem as you and they've taken a transformation journey to get a result, when
Yeah.
you listen to their story, you get to try on being the hero in that story as well. Because if it worked for them, it should work for you, and you're not an exception.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a good case study, if done well, can answer or like handle a lot of their objections, or at least help someone go, oh, I have the same fears, I'm not alone, you know?
Yeah. And I think that like it's one of the biggest things that we're looking for, like when we're looking for guidance, there's a couple of things like I found, I'm curious your thoughts on this. So I find when somebody comes to me looking for guidance, they're looking for two things or three things. Hope
Yeah.
that there's going to be something different, certainty that no matter what happens, I've got them.
Yeah.
And the third one is that I can get the result, and I've proven that I can get the result time and time again. And those three things, like if that can be translated, then it really creates that shift in the client. And I think, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think massively around the certainty piece. Like the client needs to know that there's a game plan and that if things don't work, there's a plan to fix it. I think probably what's missing in a lot of the sales processes that we audit is it's very like one way, the highway. And like some of our clients that are really, really good at sales, they're really just naturally very good at conveying, like, no matter what happens, we've got a game plan, we'll fix it. And I think that's the difference, is like a lot of people are very confident when they sell their product, but you know, you got to be able to fix things when they're not working.
Yeah, 100%. I find those kind of conversations when they're not working, they're the parts where the most growth happens if you're willing to lean into them. That's where you get to totally up-level your business, your service, all of those things, if you're willing to lean into that with clients.
Yeah, 100%. I had one this morning, like one of our oldest standing clients. Yeah, we kind of just, for whatever reason, we haven't had the greatest start to the last 6 weeks of the year. We've been a bit slow on both sides. So we just had this really nice heart-to-heart moment where we both grew from it, for sure.
Yeah, it's nice when that happens. So I've got a couple more questions that I'm really curious about. What's it like working with Marley? Like living with somebody, being married to somebody, working with them, creating with them. Is this like, how do you manage all the different aspects of where you relate?
It's an awesome question. I'm so glad you asked it, because it's probably like the thing that I'm most passionate about. You know, talking to people about around. Just, we get this question a lot. Like we're told as a society, like rule number one, don't do business with family, right? That's like one rule. And I can definitely see for certain situations, you definitely don't want to do business with family. But on the flip side, if you can do business with your partner, I do think it's some of the most rewarding, like it's like really a life worth living. Like for us, we get to travel together all the time. We get to control our schedule. We get to grow together, hold each other accountable. And probably the thing I love the most about it is, and I've found this, I've had business partnerships that haven't worked before. Some of them with family, some of them with friends. But what I've always found in like let's say I have a business partner and let's say his name is John, right? It's a dude. Like at some point in time, like we're going to have really conflicting ideas. It becomes this almost like battle of ego of like, whose idea is going to win. Ultimately, someone's got to make a decision. If it's right or wrong, that decision can be held against that person, and it can get a bit messy, I've found. Whereas with Marley, there's no ego. So it's like, you know, it's at the end of the day, we both want our family to succeed. So it's like, if Marley has an idea and it's generally a great idea, I'm like, let's do it. And vice versa. So the level of trust, I think, is super high. And it's just fun. Like I honestly say to her all the time, and she says it to me, like, I would fucking hate to do this without her. Like I don't think I would. Like I'd go do something else. It'd just be too hard.
Yeah. And I think I love what you said there about being together, having that common goal that you're working for. So like if we're looking at like a true north point to be continuously aligning to, they are aligned. And I can see how, like, if it's two separate business partners that have different, like, you might share similar beliefs, values, like end goals about where you want to be and the kind of life that you want to create. But ultimately, there's going to be subtle differences in that, like you said, and that can potentially cause a lot of challenges if that doesn't continue to align. And if you've got, depending upon whether you're already with a partner or you've got like partners coming in and out, like from a romantic perspective, that also influences that dynamic and how that works, because then it's not just the two of you aligning to common goals, there's four people aligning to common goals.
Yeah, 100%. And like it definitely can be challenging. Like I'm not saying it's all super easy and it's a great idea for everyone, for sure. Like you need the right partner, they need to be supportive. But we've worked with lots of businesses boots to boots, and what I have found is that the ones that are really successful is when their business partner or like life partner is super aligned and behind them, or what we call like a supporter versus a distractor. So yeah, we're super passionate about it. I'm actually in the process of trying to get a TED talk, like apply for a TED talk to talk on the topic.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so hopefully that happens this year, and we'll kind of do more unpacking of why we think it's a good idea for some and not for others.
Yeah, I think that's so awesome. And I do like the one thing that I've noticed in kind of trends, like the more that we're stepping into creating soul aligned, heart centered businesses, and like our, like what we're doing in the world is literally an expression of ourselves.
Yeah.
That when we get to do that with somebody in union, and obviously that's provided we've chosen the right person to be in union with, that really amplifies the whole experience. It amplifies the love, the joy, the creation, the magic. There's something so potent about what that union creates and then can do and serve in the world. So I think it's magic that you're bringing this to the table.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, I love talking about it. It's fun.
Yeah. So one thing I always like to ask business owners, for our listeners, to just kind of like bring down the myth, because what can happen, and this is what I've kind of noticed, is that people look at people 10 years into their journey and be like, wow, I want to be like you. Like you're doing so awesome and you've got this freedom and this lifestyle. Yet they don't know about all the other failed businesses before that one.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how many failed businesses, or not even necessarily failed, but how many businesses till this one that it really took off for it to be what it is now?
Oh, we have had way more than the average for sure.
Tell me about them.
Okay, so we've had like, I mean, I can name them all, but I can basically say that I think, and this is something that we talk about a lot, like no matter what you fail at or let go of or whatever, as long as you don't quit, you really haven't failed, because you actually got skills and you can coming back from, you haven't lost 12 months, you've actually just gained a whole bunch of skills, which are going to get you to that next point. And this little journey I'm about to illustrate will help you understand that. We started in, so I started in corporate, had a really good job in corporate. I was quite young, absolutely hated it, decided I was going to be a genius and go and start an online personal training business. That was kind of the first shift away from a normal life. Got really into personal development, which I think most business owners start doing, became obsessed with that as a concept. Went on that journey of then, personal development coaching, so to speak. We had a program called A Life Worth Living, which actually became pretty successful. Even in between those two journeys, we started another business with a guy called Keegan Smith, which became this real movement project thing, which was really successful. We had a retreat center in Byron Bay, and we were doing all sorts of stuff then. And that's also when the spin-off to personal development came into it. Through that, he had another business which was very big into like personal trainer education, and I was doing a lot of the sales for that business to basically skill up in sales and pay bills and things like that. So got lots of sales skills, started helping other business owners with sales, realized marketing was a massive gap, so went on this huge deep dive to marketing, fell into accidentally running ads for some people and sort of working with people in marketing at this point. So then started doing that kind of full time, and really was able to kind of piece a lot of things together and go into like really, I guess what it was is like sales, marketing, coaching, kind of business coaching stuff, which we've been doing for the last probably, I don't know, say 6 years or so. Had different variations of that along the way. Also at one point, completely shut that down to start an e-commerce business, which is still running.
That's great.
have since got back into the digital marketing and business coaching stuff, which is what we see now at Money Up Time Down. So that is like a 10-year journey right there, start to finish.
Wow. And isn't it interesting? I can't, have you, there was this really awesome talk, I think Elizabeth Gilbert did on the Oprah own stage when it first came out. And she talks about the difference between the jackhammer and the hummingbird effect. And the
Yeah.
jackhammer is the person who just like, they're those kind of people that just wake up and they know what they're going to do with their life. And they just have the one thing and they follow that path all the way through.
Yeah.
And then there's the hummingbird. And what's so magic about the hummingbird that if you've ever watched them, they kind of go from like one flower and they take the nectar from that flower and they go over to the next flower and they pollinate that one and they take some nectar and they kind of spread the love all over the place.
Yeah.
And what I love about your story is it reminds me of this where, and with most business owners too, like going through trying all the different things and collecting all the different skills and all the different bits and pieces and the failing forward till eventually all the pieces come together to what they're doing now. And it's a little bit like the hummingbird's journey. You sort of pollinate all over the place and bring it all together just to create this magic that enriches other people's lives.
Yeah, it's funny. Hummingbird's a nice way of explaining it. It at times felt a lot like just a pinball, and times, and yeah, I think there's always been times where I'm like, are we changing too much or whatever? And I see merit in both journeys, like just sticking to one thing, getting amazingly good at it, and then also testing out a bunch of stuff to fail forward. I'm probably lean more towards this way.
Yeah, I love it. And being that like we've been working together for a little while now, can you talk to me a little bit about some of the impact being able to offer your clients finance and how that's allowed them to meet you at this part of the journey and then you take them to the next part of like where they're at in business and what that's made available?
Yeah, so really quickly, like so I remember before even, so we were doing, I remember once, I think ages and ages ago, for one of our previous business coaching companies, I think you helped us finance a client and I just completely forgot about the idea. And it was only because we had an e-commerce store and we put like Afterpay on the store and it increased the store conversion. I was like, that's amazing. And then a year later, we had a client that really wanted to work with us and they couldn't afford it. We really wanted to work with them. I was like, oh, it's such a shame there's no like way to really help them out with this build project, because we build someone a website, all this sort of stuff. It's not cheap to do it up front, right? Like it costs us a lot to build it. And it was annoying. And then something happened. And I remember I was sitting there going, if only there was a way to make this work a little bit easier. And this guy messaged me on Instagram. I ended up getting on a call with him. It was from some random company in America and was talking about financing for coaching programs. And I literally thought, wow, this is such a good idea. And it took me forever to start thinking about it in Australia.
Oh, wow.
You might remember, but I was sitting at the airport one day and I was super frustrated. And I just messaged you on, I think I'm like, Kelly, are you still doing the finance stuff? And you're like, yep. And from that moment, we started pretty much getting, not only our clients across to you, but using the service for the right client internally. So for us, it's meant that we can change the way our clients can pay us, which makes it better for them. We can do more for our clients as well. So we've been able to actually put together packages that are way more value adding to them and not just kind of draw out some payment plan and do very little for them on a certain basis. So yeah, building people websites, building them a full marketing funnel, building out their sales process. So yeah, it's changed the value we can add to our clients. Obviously for us, it's been pretty monumental in terms of cash flow positioning. Like being able to get paid up front is a huge idea. And, I think anyone that we talk to internally about it, it can change their business very quickly. We've had clients go from their best months being sort of 30, 40K months. And that's like them stretching to being able to take them to, 150, 200K months cash collected pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And that like, and I believe that when good people have money, they do good things.
Yes, typically. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your eyes on that. If anybody's watching the recording of that, Drew's eye flick was pretty great.
Hopefully, most of the time. I'd say most of the people in our industry, yes.
Yeah. Well, I like to think too, like even the ones that I support, I'm pretty particular and do a little bit of background checking to make sure like Is are people in it for the right reasons? Because I find, again, curious to hear your thoughts on this. In the coaching space, it tends to attract two kinds of people: the narcissistic ones that are purely in it for themselves, and it's all about the show, regardless of how much they preach about making a difference. It's in there to serve their own selfish gains, egos, and they kind of just want the money to have the lifestyle and care more about that than necessarily serving the clients.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side of the equation, which is those that have like the huge hearts that just want to make a difference. And their journey is actually about stopping overgiving and start seeing their worth and valuing their worth. And these ones are more so in it for the right reasons, yet just haven't balanced that abundance and money is just as spiritual as serving. And then the other side. So I'm really careful not to pick up on the ones that are more on the narcissistic side of things, because I know that if I'm financing a bunch of people into programs like that, and then the finance companies come back to me with a problem, there's no way I'm going to put this product in jeopardy like some of those other buy now, pay later services, because I want to protect my entire database and my clients. So this is a long-term thing. I'm curious, like, what have you seen in terms of like they're either on the narcissistic side of the thing or on the overgiving side of the thing?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be both in every market. And like, this is a pretty powerful tool, and in the wrong hands, yeah, definitely could create some carnage. And yeah, I guess my thoughts on it takes me to the point of difference about really what I think you guys do that other people necessarily don't. Because, you know, we've worked with other financing companies in America. We've worked with a couple others in Australia, and I've told you this before. The one thing that you guys do better than everyone else, in my opinion, is you actually get on the freaking phone to people. Like, if let's just say a money up, time down client goes, yep, I have a client I want to fund through Kelly. Great. The fact that your team actually get on the phone to their client is the best part about the process. They get a human to human experience versus a bunch of these other tools are like automated or whatever. And then there's no human experience. So I find that part of the process is probably what I enjoy most about it.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm the same. I'm a bit old school. Like, if you're going to take somebody, the way that, and depending upon what people have going on with money, dealing with banks or finance can be a really scary process for them. It's so important that they know that who they're dealing with, they can trust, and they're going to have their hand held through the whole process, and they're going to get the favorable result. Nobody likes to get rejected or told no to. So I really appreciate you, noticing that point of difference.
Yeah. And also, like, it's not a silver bullet. Like, a lot of people, I think, believe like, if I could just get paid up front, it's going to change everything, and it will change a lot of things, but you still have to be able to get a great result. You know, you have to be able to communicate your offer. All these other things are part of the process. And, you know, we've seen the irony of some of this stuff is it can work in so many ways. So like, we have a lot of clients that might get set up with you. They know that they have that option to offer third-party funding to their clients, and all of a sudden they just start getting way more deals sold cash up front.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I have noticed that as well.
You know,
it's like, the thing.
It's like their confidence. They're like, cool, like, I'm happy to ask for the sale up front because I know I can also offer this payment plan. I'm not going to take it internally on my balance sheet effectively. I've got a third party, and people are like, no, I'll just pay you up front. So I think it can work in many different ways for different businesses in different situations.
Yeah, I agree. And it is interesting that you point out that once they have this available to them, because they've had to stretch their field to a point of, I'm worthy to receive full payment for my program from day one. And that's either via finance or via cash. It doesn't really matter, because it's still the same thing. You still have to stretch your worthiness to be able to receive that level of abundance that quickly. And I think when that happens, it actually opens both doors. And part of our onboarding process is we actually go deep with this to make sure the person's field is calibrated to that, because one of the biggest blocks that I can find coaches have is they get in their own way because they're used to receiving payment plans in dribs and drabs, and they might be having 100K months, but they're only receiving 20K of that per month. So when part of the onboarding process, we help expand their field so it's normal for them to receive all of that in the month.
Yeah, 100%. And it's definitely a confidence game. And like, there's also benefits to it that we've seen. So there's probably a couple of clients that I know, if money up, time down had to put them on like internal payment plan to work with us over, say, you know, a 12-month period, like I know they probably wouldn't have been able to do that straight away. So it would have either been turning them away or really just not working with them. So the fact that we could offer them a longer term payment plan and work with them over a longer time frame meant that we were actually able to help them. And that does two things. So thing number one is, especially in like a B2B setting where everyone's always talking about results, like sometimes for certain clients, it takes more than 120 days to get an amazing result. Right. So like, I know for a fact that if those clients were on an internal payment plan, they would have probably dropped off that in month 2 because they weren't seeing this breakthrough. And I have a chart of a client who we actually went backwards. Their revenue went backwards for 2 months because we were changing all the stuff, but I wasn't stressed about it because I knew that Marley and I had a plan to like J-curve their revenue up once we fixed all this stuff. So we can do more for companies that we probably couldn't have done otherwise. Because if they're on okay, I'm paying these guys a retainer, and if I'm not getting instant ROI, it's all over. Yeah, it's kind of changed our client results in that delivery aspect as well.
It's so great. And because it is true, like you watch this when people come into programs with retainers, like if you've said yes to a 12-month growth journey for your business, it's people don't think this, they just think, oh, this is going to be the end result that they get. But what they don't understand is the process of change. There is a dismantling, which means there is often a disruption to your income and to your flow of things, to your clients, to the whole way that you operate before you start seeing that return on investment. And like you said, it could be 120 days, which is more than 3 months before you start to see those results. And if you're already stretching just to meet that retainer, and you're now experiencing like an income loss, like on paper income loss, because you're going through this transition, that creates so much stress and cortisol in the nervous system that, again, that you start blocking things coming in even more. So being able to get access to this sort of support in a way that doesn't push you over the edge financially, that also allows for the fact that income might dip a little bit before it exponentially increases, is so powerful.
Yeah. And also like there's a lot of different benefits. I mean, we had another client that we actually sent to you that wanted to work with us that we were a little bit unsure about. And we were like, look, let's just put together the proposal. They agreed to it. It looked really good. And we were both happy with that. And then they actually did end up not able to get funded because of some credit score stuff. And so instantly, like traditionally, we might have put those kind of clients on an internal payment plan, which is kind of hilarious because you're putting like someone that has really bad credit on a payment plan, which is probably not a good thing. So,
which is high. If the bank is saying no, then you should definitely say no.
Yeah. And you wouldn't know that if you didn't go through that stuff. So that's probably my overall thoughts on it. And then the last thing I would definitely say is that, you know, we believe that having a mixture of recurring revenue and being able to offer to get paid up front model, which is what, you know, you're offering, I think that's the secret sauce where you've got decent amount of recurring and you're able to do these kind of ongoing packages. That's really where we see our clients that have gone across to you have done the best.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I've got one last question for you.
Go for it.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
All right.
Totally take a moment to think about it. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That's easy. Be happy today while striving for more tomorrow.
Perfect.
I think the easiest way I think about it was given to me by my first mentor, Lachlan Cameron. And it's easy to say it, but it's super hard to live that. And, you know, a lot of us have these goals. You want growth, you want to do more with our life, etc. But like, it's quite difficult to stay pretty grateful in what you're doing now and just be happy where you're at all the time. And so that's typically what I try and go back to a lot.
Yeah. And God, it so resonates. It's that entrepreneur journey, right? Be happy in the now, excited about the future. But sometimes you can project so far into the future and then get beat up on yourself because you're not there, which robs all the joy and the magic and the happiness that you've created in the now.
Yeah. And like the probably modern take I have on it is, you know, be like, there's no such thing as bad goals. It's just bad timeframes or bad deadlines. And
that's sexy.
You know, if we take out what you want to do with your business over 10, 15 years, like what's going on today is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I really love it. Like I always joke about that I work really good on 10-year time frames.
Yeah,
It
100%.
took me 10 years to win a world title, took me 10 years to grow a business like this.
Yeah, well, that's what it takes, and I think that's probably the right message for us to share with people. Is it's taken us 10 years to figure out half of what we know, and I still feel like we have so much more to figure out.
100%. Yeah. Well, thank you, Drew. This has been a pleasure and an honor. I always love our chats. I can't wait to share this with my platform. If they wanted to get in contact with you, if they wanted some support in terms of getting the operations of their business set up, getting that pulse number for their business to be able to track things, how do people get in contact with you?
Best place would be just the website, moneyuptimedown.com.
Cool. Awesome. I'm also going to have that link plastered all over the place, so you will be able to find it. And again, such an honor. Thanks, Drew.
Easy. Appreciate you having us on, and all the good work you've done with, not only our clients, but our business, and we'll continue to do so. Thanks, Kelly.
Amazing. My pleasure. Mwah. Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle Finance Show. If you loved this interview, please feel free to share it, because if it made a difference to you, it will absolutely make a difference to others. And if you are a coach, healer, or mentor, and you'd like to explore getting finance set up for your business so you can get paid in full from day one and financially support your clients in a far greater capacity than just your in-house payment plan, head over to my website, www.lifestylefinanceco.com, and follow the prompts so we can explore this further. Big love, beautiful soul, and thanks for the support.